Hello, and welcome to another video. Now, before we begin, I'm going to do a little bit of a channel update. And essentially, because I don't want to do a whole video, moving forward, things are going to look different on this channel. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to concentrate more on the Western media. And that's basically it. So my interest in things Japanese media, I'm going to now put those elsewhere and I'm going to concentrate solely here on the Western media things that I kind of like. So, Rings of Power and all of that. So, yeah. Thanks for sticking through this little update and let's get to the video. I did a video a while ago about how I think that the Rings of Power was always meant to fail. And I still do believe that because the amount of money that Amazon has thrown into the arena trying to prove that this is some kind of a success instead of actually making something that's a success really kind of leads me to believe that they didn't really care what they put out there in the first place. And I do think that it was just designed to fail. Otherwise, I don't think that they would have waited for Christopher Tolkien to die before they even did the monstrosity that is the Rings of Power. But there was also kind of a thought that was brewing in my mind as well. And we are going to get to the article that really kind of brought it together for me. But before we do that, I just wanted to go through this one review. And, I have the part highlighted because it really kind of hit me what it was. Not when I saw this because I thought it before, but it kind of confirmed what I was thinking that, when you're someone who has read Tolkien's work, and at this point, I have finished the Silmarillion, and I am now in the process of reading Beren and Luthien. And I read the Silmarillion, and the first thing that came to my mind was, there's no way these people are fans of Tolkien. There's no way they even read Tolkien. And so, yeah, as you can see, it basically this review basically says the same thing that this person, you were excited, you wanted to give it a chance. You understand, of course, there's going to be some artistic license taken, and when you take something from page to screen, but there was something that just kind of was messing with their mind, and what they actually discovered after reading other reviews is that, yeah, that thing that was bothering them is the doubt that these people have even read the books. Certainly, because they always reference the movies, I guarantee they saw the movies, they probably loved the movies, they probably thought they could do a better job. Now, as we know, yeah, the showrunners have basically talked about it. They talk about the movies where specifically I'm thinking in the scene where um Galadriel and Sauron are standing together, in that vision of the boat thing, and he's reciting to her the lines that she said in Lord of the Rings, and how the showrunners thought, oh my gosh, maybe, when they saw the Peter Jackson movies, oh my gosh, what if Sauron had given that to her? And oh, let's tie all that together, and that ridiculousness of what essentially was bad fan fiction out of people who never read a single word of Tolkien, because the craziness that has gone on with the timeline specifically tells you that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing, and they're just doing whatever they wanted to do. And instead of just going for their own story and just doing their own thing and taking the time to actually develop their own characters, develop their own storyline, and come up with something brand new, they thought it would be better to just take what someone else had already done and just screw with it. Like, essentially, I mean, that's modern media. That's modern media in a nutshell. And it is why I'm done with Hollywood overall. But here we are with what really kind of got me going. And this article from Esquire, and it is Rings of Power Season 2, Everything We Know. And of course, you know, someone who obviously has never read Tolkien, obviously has no interest in Tolkien, and I guarantee probably didn't even enjoy Rings of Power because you're concerned about whether Arendir is coming back, who literally did nothing at all in season 1. But yes, we need to know if he's coming back because obviously he contributes something, which is nothing to the show. But that's kind of beside the point. So the part that really kind of solidified to me what, you know, the part that really kind of solidified to me the idea that they don't know, there we go, that they didn't read Tolkien and they don't know what they're doing is essentially this part. When we get to talking about when we get to talk about Celeborn. So, and here's why I got well, when I read this article, I got so aggravated and like extremely aggravated, so aggravated that I started yelling at my computer screen. That's how aggravated I was about this. So it's the so it's the idea it's the idea that they think we're stupid because essentially I know that this was meant to fail because they really think that their audience is stupid. Because only a stupid, like, because only someone who thinks that their audience is stupid would think that this line in particular is somehow clever. So this is what Payne told Esquire. As far as Celeborn goes, we wanted to let people know that this is a part of her that could become important later on. And they're talking about episode 7 when she offhandedly mentioned that she was married. Offhand, like this is after they did this whole stupid plot line of will she, won't she with Sauron, Galadriel, who knew Sauron for who he was when he was hiding as Anatar, but somehow him hiding in a human form, she can't possibly know who he is. She's so this extremely intelligent and powerful elf just literally cannot know who Sauron is by looking at him, and we have to have this falling in love plot. But oh, wait a minute, we just suddenly remembered, oh, she's married. Because that's literally, and I'm using it correctly, that's literally how the show went. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she mentions that she has a husband. Well, I've never seen him again. Because we're trying to set up a mystery box. Because we're trying to set up a mystery box. And this I don't want to get too off track. But this mystery box thing has to go. And looking at this article, all we're getting is stupid mystery boxes because it is the thing of let's go through questions about Sauron. Who is he? What is he doing? And like it's yeah, because right. Because here we go, because this is from McKay. Well, obviously, Sauron is now a chess piece on the board. Now that he's a chess piece on the board, there are a lot of dominoes that start to fall. The ring poem is in a song at the end of the 8th episode. Because of course you're trying to steal because you're trying to steal from you're trying to steal something from another place and claim it as yours and claim that this is somehow part of canon. And I'm sorry, this atrocity is not canon. Anyone who reads a single story from Tolkien will know that this is not canon. This isn't canon. This has nothing to do even with the movies and them constantly trying to attach it to the movies, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to attach it to the movies and make people think that you must see this show before you go through the Peter Jackson. And that is that's got to be the worst thing. That is the worst atrocity that they could ever do. So to make my point, when we're talking about the Sauron thing, you know, so yeah, essentially it's the thing of, right, season 1 opens with, who is Galadriel? Where did she come from? What did she suffer? Why is she driven? So we're doing the same thing with Sauron in season 2. We'll fill in the missing pieces, things that questions that nobody asked, questions that nobody cared about. You know, you're talking a second age story, and you're talking about characters that no one really cared about. So they want you to be excited for Círdan. And that's the point. They want you to be excited for Círdan because remember, they're telling you that season 2 will be the most canonical. Like, it will be close to canon, as close to canon as they can get it. And their reasoning is because we'll have Círdan. Be excited for Círdan. But why should I be excited for Círdan when you handicapped Gilgalad and you handicapped Elrond and you've turned those two, and those are prominent figures in Tolkien history. You handicapped them. But I'm supposed to be excited for another character that you're going to handicap because you only cared about Galadriel. And you wanted a girl boss Galadriel. Like, this show was designed to fail. And I will not be convinced otherwise. I think the worst thing is that the showrunners think they have a success. And it makes me think of The Witcher. There's literally no course correction in The Witcher because you have a writer's room full of people who don't like the Witcher novels. They don't like the games. They don't like the properties. They just want to write the stories that they want to write. And I think when you have that as your base, when you come in to a project that you don't even like, and I will not be convinced that these two showrunners for Rings of Power like Tolkien's work, because I don't believe that they've read a single word Tolkien. They've not read a single word of the Silmarillion. They have not read a single word of the Unfinished Tales. They have not read any of the history. I'm not even sure that they even read The Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings series. I guarantee they've not read anything by Tolkien because it's impossible that they would have done that and have done this show, which is terrible. But that's why I think it was always designed to fail, because the whole point is when you have nothing left for people to enjoy, because that's the point. When you have nothing left for people to really enjoy, when you have destroyed all the things that they've loved, all they have left is what you give them. And that's what they want. You know, Warner Brothers is talking about redoing the Lord of the Rings. And I'm concerned because we're talking this new idea of making the world reflect the world as it is today, which is a silly thing to do. Fantasy novels. These are fantasies. These are not, they're not fantasies by their very definition, aren't necessarily designed to follow the real world as it currently is. And so this idea that has really been birthed out, this idea that you can take something and change everything about it and still present it as canon, because Star Wars is really going through that. They are undoing everything that George Lucas did so that they can present their version of the galaxy far, far away as being the true galaxy. And it's a crap thing. And they're losing their fan base. And yet they will not course. with this, I guarantee this season 2, they will not have course corrected. They will continue to go through the crazy things that they did because it was only ever going to happen because they condensed the timeline in the first place. And it's why I really admire those lore channels that are doing their versions of if they were writing for Rings of Power, which I would much rather watch all of those videos because their 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 ideas are so much more interesting than what we're getting with Rings of Power. And so yeah, I just I don't really have much else because like I said, this part of the article when we're when we're talking about what could happen in Rings of Power season 2, and once I got to the Celeborn part, I was done. Because we're literally about to do a mystery box with Galadriel's husband, who Tolkien made it clear that when she met her husband, that was it. They stayed together forever. There was never really a time, like other than few parts, other than a few parts in their life. There were a few parts where they were separated, but otherwise they were never apart. And when they were separated, they always knew where the other was. So you're putting us in this situation where you're expecting Tolkien fans to buy in to a story that is not a Middle Earth story. And you're wanting Tolkien fans to not only take that story that is not canon, that is not a Tolkien story, you want us to take that story and call that story part of the canon. You want that story on the same shelf as Tolkien's work. And you think you really want fans to ignore the atrocities that are happening. Yeah, I can't. I can't. And so with that, I'm gonna call this video finished. It really kind of became more of a rant. I wanted it to, but I knew I wasn't gonna be as calm. Even though I wrote notes, I made sure I wrote notes for myself because I wanted to get out what I wanted to get out, and I didn't want to lose too much track. But I just, as someone who writes, thing I can't stand the most is seeing someone else's hard work be undone like this. I can't take it because I know that it's being done maliciously. Whether they acknowledge it or not, I know it's done with malicious intent. I know it's done with malicious intent. Like they wouldn't push things the way that they are if it wasn't with malicious. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you listen this far, thank you for listening. Um, like, share, subscribe, comment, of course. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.